learning and continued the learning. So I am thankful to you, Gaurav Garg, for this knowledge cast. And the topic we were deciding in advance about corporate guarantees. And I think corporate guarantee is the issue which is mm, sounding not pre-relevant right now, but will be critical in the time to come. And when we have a blend of both income tax and GST on this crucial topic, uh, none other than you can be the better speaker on the direct tax. But thank you for considering me for GST perspective. आपकी वॉइस नहीं आ रही।
Thank you, Nave bhai, for all the good words. And once again, very warm welcome on this platform. Very good evening to all of you. Today we'll be discussing once again the corporate guarantee from both GST perspective and income tax. So before we invite Nave bhai to speak, let me give you the brief background of the issue. Hope the screen is visible to all of you. Can somebody confirm if screen is visible?
It's visible.
Thank you. So what is corporate guarantee? Corporate guarantees are legally binding promises made by one company, the guarantor, to assume responsibility for the debt, obligations, or liability of another company, that is the debtor, if the debtor fails to fulfill its obligations. Scope of taxability, we have Section 28(4) under income tax, read with Section 194(r), which is tax deducted at source on the benefits. Then we have Section 92, including the other provisions of Chapter 10. We can say broadly the transferring provisions. And recently under GST, we have CBIC circular number 204/16/2023, dated 27th October 23, read with the notification 52/2023. So we can say this is the scope, or these are the provisions under which corporate guarantee is getting taxed under income tax and GST. But typically how the transaction works. So let's say we have a group company 1 and we have a group company 2. There could be more group companies. One could be parent company, one could be subsidiary, or they could be simply fellow subsidiaries or fellow group companies. So there is a relationship between these two companies, and both qualifies, whether it's GST, under GST, they qualify as related parties. Under income tax, they qualify as associated enterprise. But as far as 28(4) or 194(r) is concerned, the relationship is not required. Even if you are not related parties, then also 28(4) and 194(r) is applicable. Now there is a bank or financial institution. One of the company goes to a bank or a financial institution for the funding requirement, for the loan requirement. The another group company gives the guarantee to the bank, and this guarantee is called corporate guarantee. Based on this guarantee, the bank gives the loan to the group company number 1. So group company number 2 becomes the guarantor. Group company number 1 becomes the guarantee or the debtor. And group company 2 gives the guarantee to the bank that in case if group company 1 fails to make the payment, or in case of the debt, I am the one who will going to make the debt good. I'm going to pay on behalf of group company 1. The possible impact of group company of this corporate guarantee. 1, let's say, without corporate guarantee, funding is not possible. So when group company 1 visits the bank simply says, we will not give you the loan until unless you furnishes the corporate guarantee from one of a group company which has got a good credit rating, maybe the parent entity. The another impact could be that the bank is ready to give the loan. Let's assume at the rate of 15%, 15, because of the particular credit rating of group company number one. But after the guarantee from group company number two, the bank reduces the interest rate from 15% to, let's say, 12%. There is a saving of 3%. So possibly two impacts. One, that earlier, without bank guarantee, without corporate guarantee, the funding was not possible. The second impact would be the funding was possible, but yes, the interest rate or the cost of the loan is coming down because of the corporate guarantee. Now, this is a brief background. Now, what has happened in GST? In GST, we have a circular which says that corporate guarantees provided by a company to the, this is the circular. Corporate guarantees provided by a company to the bank, financial institutions for providing credit facilities to the other company, where both the companies are related. The activities to be treated as a supply of services between related parties as per the provision of Schedule 1 of CGST Act. So very clearly, very loudly, they are saying if the corporate guarantee is provided to a company, by a company to the bank or financial institution. So if the other entity is not a bank or a financial institution, possibly the circular will not get attracted. Similarly, where the corporate guarantee is provided by a holding company for its subsidiary, those two entities also fall under the category of related person. Hence, the activity of providing corporate guarantee by a holding company to bank or financial institution for securing credit facilities for its subsidiary company, even when made without consideration, is also be treated as supply of services. So this circular says if one company gives the corporate guarantee to the bank or a financial institution so that the bank or a financial institution can give a loan to the another group company, and if both falls within the definition of a related party, the circular get attracted and it needs to be valued as per Rule 28. In respect of such supply of service by a person to another related person or by holding company to a subsidiary company in form of providing corporate guarantee on their behalf to bank or financial institution, the taxable value will be determined as per Rule 28 of CGST rule. Now, going to the notification, it says the rate shall be deemed to be 1% of the amount of such guarantee offered. Now, that was a brief on the GST, because we will be having Navya Bhai would be discussing the matters relating to GST. But briefly about income tax, we have section 28(4), which says the following income shall be chargeable to income tax under the profit and gains of business profession. The value of any benefit or perquisite arising from business or the exercise of profession, whether convertible into money or not, or in cash or in kind, or partially in cash or in kind. Think of a situation, because where that is the whole purpose of bringing the law under GST and under income tax. Think of a situation wherein the parent company gives the corporate guarantee or the guarantee to the bank on behalf of its subsidiary, and they are not charging, parent company is not charging any amount for such guarantee. Now, if it qualifies to be a benefit or perquisite, then the value of such benefit or perquisite will become taxable under 28(4). And certainly one needs to deduct TDS under section 194R of the income tax. And yes, if it is a transaction between two associated enterprises under the Income Tax Act, this is section 92A, 92A read with rule 92B2. it will qualify to be an international transaction because this is what the laws is: capital financing, including any type of long-term or short-term borrowing, lending or guarantee. So both GST and income tax, whether the domestic provisions in the income tax or the provisions relating to the cross-border transactions under the transfer pricing setup, the corporate guarantee is under the scrutiny. It needs to be evaluated. So, but before we move on to the income tax, I would request CA Navya Malhotra ji to kindly guide us, to kindly enlighten us on the issues pertaining to corporate guarantee under the GST Act. Over to you, Navya bhai.
ब्रिलियंटली समराइज्ड एंड आई बिलीव इतना अच्छे से मैं भी समराइज ना कर पाता भैया जैसे आपने पूरे इनकम टैक्स और जीएसटी का समागम इकट्ठा कर दिया। और टॉपिक बहुत क्रूशल भी है कॉर्पोरेट गारंटी का, जैसे मैंने शुरू में भी बोला, और उतना ही आसान भी है। तो कॉर्पोरेट गारंटी के लिए जब डिस्कशन चालू हुआ तो 2017 से लेकर 1 जुलाई 2017 से व्हेन जीएसटी एक्चुअली गॉट इम्प्लीमेंटेड, देयर वर इश्यूज गेटिंग इनटू पिक्चर एंड इन 2013 itself, you will be shocked to know, in 2013 only there is a case of Supreme Court of Edelweiss Financial Services। आप देखिए ये एक लीगेसी इशू है, एक लीगेसी इशू चल रहा था कि सर्विस टैक्स रेजिम में भी क्या कॉर्पोरेट गारंटी टैक्सेबल थी या नहीं। एंड देयर केम अप अ केस ऑफ एडलवेस फाइनेंशियल सर्विसेज वेयर इट वाज सेट असाइड by Supreme Court, the apex court, that no service tax will be applicable on corporate guarantee। आप ये सुन के बहुत शॉक होंगे कि सेम ज्यूरिस्प्रूडेंस अगर जीएसटी में लग जाए तो ऑल दिस रूल्स ऑफ पुटिंग 1% इवन ऑन कंसिडरेशन, आप उसको मान लीजिए कि 1% आपका डीमिंग फिक्शन लगाते हुए जो टैक्स लगा है वो अल्ट्रा वायर्स हो जाएगा। So this is to be time tested and court tested thing now, and many of the judicial I should say benches now have this case pending in writ whether the corporate guarantee is still taxable or not, something by the introduction of notification and introducing a rule and putting a deeming fiction that I will discuss in depth। but अभी मैं थोड़ा सा बेस बनाना चाह रहा हूँ कि corporate guarantee में एक्चुअल में ये इशू नया नहीं पॉप अप हुआ, ये इशू कंटिन्यू था लीगेसी इशू। और जब 2013 में 23 में डिसाइड हुआ सर्विस टैक्स का इशू कि इस पर टैक्स लगना ही नहीं है, क्यों? क्योंकि ये एक शेयर होल्डर एक्टिविटी है और इसमें कंसिडरेशन इन्वॉल्व नहीं है। सो इन दैट केस ऑल्सो आज जब ये इशू अभी 26 अक्टूबर को लास्ट ईयर जब ये नोटिफिकेशन आया कि इसको हम रूल 28 के अंदर इंट्रोड्यूस करते हैं एंड वी शुड कैप इट टू सम लिमिट और उस पर टैक्स लगाते हैं, तो ये इशू यहाँ कैसे पॉप अप हुआ? व्हेन जीएसटी केम इनटू पिक्चर तो डिपार्टमेंट वाज ट्राइंग टू पुट टैक्स ऑन सम रिलेटेड एक्टिविटीज, एंड व्हेन रिलेटेड एक्टिविटीज आर कंसर्न तो रिलेटेड पर्सन, जैसे कि गौरव जी की स्लाइड में मैंने देखा, इट टॉक अबाउट द holding and subsidiary। So these holding and subsidiary relation causes the tax to trigger, and when holding subsidiaries are related concern तो schedule 1 से हम कहते हैं कि related parties, when related parties are there तो हमारा schedule 1 ट्रिगर होता है जीएसटी का, और schedule 1 के साथ साथ हमारा रूल 28 वैल्यूएशन का ट्रिगर होता है। So section 15 is very clear, when two related parties are there, even if section 7 says that consideration has to be there, but schedule 1 when gets triggered and your related party doing a transaction and holding subsidiary are related as per the explanation to section 15, then you have to move to rule 28, and rule 28 had a new addition, and rule 28 had this new addition when it said rule 28 sub rule 2, which was inserted by notification 26, notification number 52/2023, dated 26th October 2023. And it has to be read with the circular that Gaurav Garg also mentioned, to the circular number 204, dated 27th October, that came immediately next day. Now, let us understand actually what happened. What this notification that on screen that is already being shown is saying that when you supply anything by way of corporate guarantee, here I think we should also highlight two words more, that is banking company or a financial institution. I think these two words are also very important. Recently, I came up with a case. Gaurav Garg, you will be shocked to listen one thing. It is having a different angle to this line. When you are making a corporate guarantee to bank or a financial institution, then Rule 28, Sub Rule 2 came into picture. It gave a deeming fiction that whatsoever is the consideration वैल्यू और वो आपकी गारंटी की वैल्यू है, उसका 1% shall be deemed to be the value of corporate guarantee. We all know in income tax also there are safe harbor rules. Am I right, Gaurav ji? There are safe harbor rules.
Correct,
Safe
correct,
harbor
correct.
rules क्या कहते हैं डिपार्टमेंट के लिए? They only give department a pro department angle. जैसे कि कंजर्वेटिवली हम टैक्स लगाएं ना लगाएं, लगाएं में सेफ हार्बर रूल्स पे चलते हैं और हम इसको मैक्सिमम इतने पे कैप कर देते हैं. हियर द मार्केट वाइड ट्रेंड दे अंडरस्टूड वाज कि कोई 0.5% चार्ज कर रहा है, कोई 0.75% चार्ज कर रहा है, कोई 0.8% चार्ज कर रहा है, बट देयर केम अ डीजीजीआई ने 500 करोड़ के अप्रोक्सीमेटली नोटिस निकाले ऑल इंडिया based on the corporate guarantee concept, and they assumed it to be somewhere around 2.5%, because there were some cases in income tax or some other judicial judgments were there which actually said कि 2.5% commission value होती है, but that is from the banking perspective. तो उन्होंने 2.5% पे भी टैक्स लगाना चालू कर दिया. So there came up the need, when you are giving a corporate guarantee to a bank or a FI on behalf of the recipient, then it shall be deemed that 1% of the amount of guarantee offered is the actual consideration or whichever is higher. यानी कि अगर मान के चलिए आपने 800 करोड़ रुपए का लोन लिया है और आपने कहा जी हम 800 करोड़ के लोन पे 1% कॉर्पोरेट गारंटी की बात करते हैं, तो 800 करोड़ का 1% होता है 8 करोड़ रुपए. And let us say the corporate guarantee or the guarantee agreement says that you shall be paying, let's say 0.25%, यानी कि 2 करोड़ रुपए. तो 2 करोड़ rupees or 8 करोड़ rupees, whichever is higher, and in our case, in our example, it will be 8 करोड़ rupees, whichever is becoming higher. तो ये 8 करोड़ रुपए वैल्यूएशन हुई अभी, इसके ऊपर अभी जीएसटी लगना है. That will be 8 करोड़ rupees into 18%. So यहां पर जैसे मैंने बोला कि दो वर्ड और हाईलाइट कर रहे हैं, बैंकिंग और एफआई. नाउ आई वांट टू आस्क यू अबाउट एन अरेंजमेंट वेयर देयर इज नो बैंक और एफआई. आज बैंक और फाइनेंशियल इंस्टीट्यूशन को अगर कॉर्पोरेट गारंटी ना दी जा रही हो और किसी और को दी जा रही हो, तो क्या आप 1% का डीमिंग फिक्शन लगाएंगे, या आप 2.5% लगाएंगे, या आप एक्चुअल ट्रांजैक्शन वैल्यू को वैल्यूएशन में लगाएंगे? I think the valuation is the biggest matter here. Can I expect some answers in chat box, or you can, I think, unmute, or you can put in Q&A box or somewhere. If you can try and respond. आप समझे मैं क्या कह रहा हूँ? अगर बैंक और एफआई को ना दी जाए तो क्या आप एक्चुअल ट्रांजैक्शन वैल्यू पे जाएंगे? राहुल जी पूछ रहे हैं, गारंटी गिवन बाय होल्डिंग कंपनी ऑन बिहाफ ऑफ 100% सब्सिडी कंपनी, 1% प्रोविजन एप्ट. यस. देखिए राहुल जी, अभी इसी पे डिस्कशन कर रहा हूं कि अगर होल्डिंग सब्सिडरी है तो वो रिलेटेड है, पहली बात. 1% प्रोविजन रूल 28 का सब रूल 2 एप्लीकेबल बिल्कुल है, यस। नोटिफिकेशन 52 के हिसाब से 52 और सर्कुलर 204 के हिसाब से भी ये टैक्सेबल है, यस, ये टैक्सेबल है। सो ये 1% वाला क्लॉज आपके ऊपर एप्लीकेबल। तिवारी
Bhave
जी
bhai,
कहते हैं, हाँ
here
जी।
na, I would like to say something based on the what we have seen in transpricing and what is commonly admitted as far as valuations are concerned.
हम्म।
So under a valuation, when you do valuation of something, there is a very important concept that there should be a benefit.
ओके।
So if you are giving me something which is adding me a benefit, then I will value that benefit and give the remuneration to you or a contribution to you. But if there is no benefit, then the valuation becomes nil. So from a perspective of a corporate guarantee, as I said, there are, possibly there could be two scenarios. If I can go back to the very first slide, wherein, the company has approached bank, the other company is giving a corporate guarantee, and bank is giving a loan only because of the corporate guarantee.
हम्म।
And without corporate guarantee, the loan is not available.
हम्म।
That happens, that generally happens when the company which is taking a loan is thinly capitalized. The capital is not adequate.
हम्म।
And when the capital is not adequate, the bank says, no, boss, your capital is not adequate. I will not give you the loan. Now, in such case, the holding company, they have got two options. One, either to infuse a capital,
हम्म।
and after infusing a capital, the company which wishes to take a, let's say the subsidiary company which wishes to take a loan will go to a bank. And now being that is adequately capitalized, the bank will give a loan. Or depending upon the cost of capital, the company says, no, I will give a guarantee to the bank. I will not infuse a capital. I will give a guarantee to the bank and bank will give a loan. In such cases, we say, technically there is no benefit to company one, that is subsidiary company. Reason is it is more in the nature of a shareholder activity. So as a holding company, I could have infused the capital and I could have protected the investment which I have already made. Now, instead of doing that, the route which I have taken is giving a guarantee to the bank. So no service to company one, no benefit to company one. Instead, it is benefit to myself. So there would not be any charge. The second case, wherein because of the corporate guarantee, the interest rates, they are reduced or they came down. Therein, in most of the cases and globally, it has been accepted that there is a benefit to company one. So the example that we took, that from a interest rate of 15%, initial interest rate of 15%, and after the corporate guarantee, the interest rate is coming down from 15 to 12. There is a clear-cut saving of 3% happening in the hands of a company one. This 3% is indeed a benefit to the company one. And now the corporate guarantee given by company two to the bank is valuable and needs to be done the valuation. So the point which I want to bring home is that not in every case you need to value. Not in every case one will give the valuation to the guarantee given, because in some cases it could be a shareholder activity. Now coming back to the numerous transfer pricing cases that we have seen in the Income Tax Act and the transfer pricing regime, based on the jurisprudences, wherein the Indian company has given a corporate guarantee to the foreign company. One, is the 0.5% rate is accepted on the guarantee amount. And in some of the cases, one has argued that we need to see not on the guarantee amount, rather the benefit utilized. So for example, I have given a corporate guarantee for the 50 crore, but the loan taken is indeed only 30 crores. So one should compute on 30 crore and not on the entire 50 crore. Secondly, the yield-based approach is applied. That is the interest cost saving approach. So for example, we have taken that from our interest rate has come down from a 15% to a 12%. this 3% has been divided among these two entities, maybe 1.5, 1.5, or maybe some other ratio. This is called the yield approach. The third, if from where this 1% is coming, possibly in the GST, I believe, in the safe harbor rules in the income tax, this 1% rate is mentioned, that if the guarantee has been given and if 1% is charged, it would be considered within the premises of safe harbor and there should not be any dispute. So this is briefly on the valuation. There are other valuation rules. What is the price in an arm's length scenario in the open market. So all those valuation rules are there. But yes, briefly, these two, interest saving approach and the thumb rule as per jurisprudence, 0.5 to 1% generally works under the income tax. Now, over to you, Navya bhai.
Herein, I would like to say that you have said in the income tax 0.5% valuation that it was also being considered or might be accepted or not accepted. But I read that there was a case of ITAT where in I also wanted to take your view in that in the case of Micro Inc. Limited versus ACIT and Suzlon Energy Limited, the judgments belong to income tax where they have held that it is a shareholder activity and
Yeah, these are good
responsible to
judgments.
consider the corporate guarantee as provision of services. So when you are highlighting these guarantee arrangements, so whether you still believe that income tax will be taking that into perspective, and then if you say yes, I will be following the jurisprudence to the GST aspect and will be litigating in accordingly.
So, see, wherein there is a clear-cut interest saving is happening, there undoubtedly all the courts have ruled that it will not qualify to be the shareholder activity. There, there because the benefit is arising, so it should be valued, and the amount should be, there should be some service fee should be given to even Indian company, maybe 50%. So in our example, we took 3%. So 1.5 should be divided. But yes, wherein there is no interest saving approach is happening and it's primarily to protect your investment, you are giving a loan, you are giving a corporate guarantee. Therein, the taxpayer may take a position that it is a shareholder activity, but then it is subject to litigation. It is subject to litigation. In such cases, what we have seen, that taxpayers generally take a conservative view and apply 0.5% of the guaranteed amount as a fee.
Okay, okay. So now when we are talking about the GST perspective related to the overseas corporate guarantees, am I right that I need to discuss now?
Yeah, please. Yeah.
So if that perspective is still concerned, that then also GST is very clear. When we talk about the perspective where holding or subsidiary relation or substantial control is concerned, the related party definition is satisfied. Here we do not have any now brilliantly when GST Act was crafted and drafted, when we look into the act, the section 2, which is a definition act, does not have the definition of related party. That is covered in explanation to section 15. Now, what was the reason behind it? Because either related party is a concept and it should have been clearly mentioned in schedule 2. Oh, sorry, section 2. But when section 2, it was not covered, it was added to explanation. The simple reason was not putting the spotlight on that concept. And when the substantial control concept comes, the holding subsidiary, whether interrelated from outside or from within India domestically, both are covered under related concerns. So when even the corporate guarantee is given by the outside holding agency on behalf of the domestically instilled company from India, and the loan is being disbursed or being sanctioned to the domestic company from a bank, the concept of corporate guarantee will still hold pre-relevantly true. Wherein now you have to understand the concept of import of service will also be getting applicable. So it will be going to go to reverse charge. And when I talk about reverse charge, you have to pay and take the input. Now the cash flow aspect will also get triggered, because reverse charge, you need to deposit the tax in cash. So these altogether complexities will get attracted when a corporate guarantee is given by the holding company from outside India, and the subsidiary, I should say, is within India. So this complexity will get attracted.
Okay.
Gaurav,
Yeah, but okay, got your point that fine, fine. Okay, continue, Navya bhai, continue.
so is there, moving further here, not only I can't say that the tax would get triggered or would not get triggered. This is to be tested with time. What I am concerned is morely about the guarantees given by the related parties. यहाँ पर एक concept और build भी हो सकता था, that is the people might be getting confused. That is a very simple question that people ask here. That is it only about the corporate guarantee that we are talking about, or the guarantees are corporate guarantee also cover the guarantee given by the directors on behalf of the companies? Is it also corporate guarantee? So to be very technical, here the corporate guarantees are the guarantees given by the holding subsidiaries or related concerns which are in body corporate nature from one to another, but they do not cover the guarantees given by the directors on behalf of the company, which can also be a part of the guarantee agreement. So we, to be very clear, these all guarantees are excluded and these can be categorized as personal guarantees. So when I talk about corporate guarantee, be rest assured that it is only covering the guarantees which are given by the body corporates on behalf of each other. So there are always the loan agreements, there are always the there are always the guaranteed agreement also. So all these things need to be drafted in a manner so that the things are very clear. Now, when I talk about corporate guarantee, it is not only concerning the valuation that we are talking, it's very clear that it is going to a safe harbor of 1%. But it is also about the time of supply that is concerned. So later in my discussion, I will also be trying to tell you about the time of supply difficulty and still what is unclear in this concept. So when we go to that aspect, we will take that into consideration as well.
Navya bhai, I have one question here. Does it only cover the financial guarantee, or will this logic get also extended to performance guarantees?
So many a times people feel that performance guarantees or corporate guarantees are interchangeable concepts and can be used inter alia to each other. But it is very clear that non-financial guarantees like performance guarantees, or I should say guarantee which are invocable when some diluted claims come into picture. These are not correlatable. However, people try to mix the concept, but these are not interchangeable as well. Corporate guarantees are based not only on the performance or not performance, but on the base when the actual invoking has to trigger when there is a lapse in repayments. Whereas performance guarantees are operational in nature and they are in the routinely given aspect and they might not trigger when the diluted claim comes up. So that is about the performance guarantee. I don't know when people say about things like performance guarantees or even the securities that are given. But yes, these concepts are to be sidelined and to be kept separate other than the concept of corporate guarantee. So when I also discussed a new concept of what that is a personal guarantee, that was also to be discussed and might come up or pop up in the mind of the members who are attending the session. So we are very clear that when I said in GST, you have to mark the words. So the corporate guarantee given to the banks or FI are covered under Rule 28 sub Rule 2, wide notification number 52. But other than that, the corporate guarantees given to anyone or the guarantee of any other nature given are not covered here. Even Gaurav Bhaiya, there was a concept wherein bank are charging bank commissions. So that is also separate and has not to be intermixed with this concept. So still the concept is open, and when I talk about this corporate guarantee के मन में जो लोगों के क्वेश्चन आता है कि ये क्या रेकरेंस पे होता है, एनुअल होता है, वन टाइम होता है, स्टिल ऑल दीज क्वेश्चंस आर ओपन. So I said na time of supply, all some of the concepts are yet to be applied because this is a concept which might even be ultra wise in the later time to come. जी.
Before we move ahead, Navya bhai, we have a question from Sarika, and I would like to have your view also. She's asking whether letter of comfort will also qualify as a corporate guarantee.
The letter of comfort, in my humble opinion, does not qualify as a corporate guarantee, but again, it is a guarantee of different nature. These corporate guarantees, as per the GST Act, has to be construed as a guarantee only for the given of purpose of loans and might be by the related parties. And mainly, what we are seeing in the practical world is about holding and subsidiaries.
So, just to what Navya has said, Sarika. See, we say broadly, there are two type of guarantees within the domain of financial guarantee. One is explicit guarantee and an implicit guarantee. So this corporate guarantee is an explicit guarantee, whereas letter of comfort is an implicit guarantee. So implicit guarantee is, you get a benefit of the credit rating, or you get a benefit of, some reduced rate because you are part of a group. So when group gives letter of comfort, yes, it's my subsidiary, or you can give a loan. They are not taking any obligation. As against in the corporate guarantee is a explicit guarantee. Yes, you give a loan to my subsidiary, and in case of a bad debt, I will make sure that I will going to pay you the money which you have given to my subsidiary. So that comfort, that repayment part is not there in the letter of comfort. And I think there is ruling that letter of comfort does not qualify as a corporate guarantee. So in my humble view, I agree with Navya bhai that yes, for the time being, unless there is a specific inclusion about letter of comfort in the regulations through circular or notification, we can safely exclude letter of comfort from the meaning of corporate guarantee currently. Navya bhai, over to you. Sarika, I trust, I must have replied to your question.
No, I think I'm agreed with the concept, and the concept that is very technical. Actually, क्या होता है? We feel that things are interchangeable and things are getting applied. However, things are actually not overlapping, but they are very different. Moving further, should I discuss about the concept of time of supply in this, or should we?
Yeah, please, Navya. I think this is very important, time of supply, because the confusion is when I'm giving the guarantee at that time, tax should be paid, or when it is actually, the loan is closed or it is exercised. So if you can please enlighten our participants on the same. Over to you.
So the concept is very to be understood in depth, that what is actually time of supply. अंकुर जी भी देख रहा हूँ मैं, चैट बॉक्स में लिख रहे हैं पेड एवरी टाइम और 1 ईयर, और तो ये कॉन्सेप्ट जैसे ही इन्होंने द सर्कुलर केम अप एंड व्हेन इट वाज नोटिफाइड, so people had this different perspective that let us say today is 12th of April and we are taking new loan. We are giving the corporate guarantee. You are making a safe harbor valuation of, let's say, 1%. Already it is a higher side. Now, do we actually need to pay this 1% commission value into 18% every year, every quarter, or it is once? So when I understand the concept of continuous supply of service, it says when the service is being rendered for more than 3 months, it is treated as a continuous supply of service. And for a continuous supply of service, the time of supply provisions are very clear that either it is a milestone or either it is as per the agreement. Now, here the concept is about what agreement says. And now the role of you and me as a professional comes up, that how to draft brilliantly and very clearly that it should be evident that there no confusion exists, that what should be the recurrence rate or frequency of this commission. So I've undergone many type of agreements and I have visualized that there are agreements which says that this will be charged per annum every year. So in that case, if there says agreement says every year, so the invoice has to be raised within 30 days of the end of the year. Because time of supply says within the 30 days, the maximum time is to issue the invoice. Now, when it is silent, what you need to do in that? In my humble opinion, it is a one-time activity. Because in cases of term loans or a long-term loan, the banks are assuming that you will be lending this amount based on the guarantee given to you. This guarantee is given once, and the bank has given you the loan for 2 or 3 years on long term. However, I have come up through some sources which have said that these recurrence will be clarified by circular because this is an ambiguity that is existing. I've told you my view also. However, I'm telling you what is the latest development. And in a time to come, very soon, we'll be having a clarification as to the recurrence and the possibility of when you need to charge and at how much time you need to charge this tax.
I think very correct. See, generally, if you see, how the contracts are worded, generally the fee is the annual fee which you pay to the bankers or within the corporate transactions. But yes, it needs to be clarified if going by the current language of the notification, it seems 1% is one time, but that could be an aggressive position within the framework of law. I'm not sure under income tax if two views are possible. The view which is beneficial to the taxpayer can be taken. Whether the same rule applies in GST or not is something which Navya Bhai can tell. Over to you, Navya.
I was having some disruption of your voice. So, can you repeat the last line?
I'm saying under Income Tax Act, if there are two views possible and the view which is more beneficial to the taxpayer can be taken, whether the same law or rule apply in GST or not.
So, GST law is very different in this case. To be very clear, GST is a newborn child. And when GST is a newborn child, so taking an aggressive view will cause you more harm, and rather I should say dispute it later, but do conservative in the inception. Sir, it is now only 7 years child that it is in, and when I talk about the laws of indirect tax in our country, we have seen a lot in excise law And once the excise law was applicable, the 70 odd years, still Supreme Court is telling us what is manufacturing. Till now, there are cases in the apex court telling us what is manufacturing. So the 63 odd years more has yet to come of the litigation in GST. So I am of the opinion that we have to take a very conservative view in the inception years, because yet the things are to be clear. However, there are the notifications more than the number of days of GST, the circulars, the orders, the ordinances, the clarifications. These are causing more complexity to increase. Like in CVC, in Income Tax Act, there are much more explanations, judicial pronouncements, more jurisprudence. We need to still yet to see in GST. So, in my view, I will try to suggest to go for more conservative view in the inception. But because the revenues and the 10% pre-deposits still a very difficult aspect. And Gauravji, to be very frank, we still are yet to see the light of the day for tribunals. So we are not having the appropriate machinery into picture. So I will suggest to save the interest cost also. We need to have a conservative.
Correct. But going by what the notification says, it seems to be one time. This is what the notification says. But yes, taking this view, one should be ready for the litigations. Okay, so now moving further, we have one question. Let's say if there is no explicit corporate guarantee, but yes, there is a charge created on the assets of the related party, whether it will also qualify under this transaction or not.
You're telling about the actionable claims.
Yeah, then it will become an actionable claim. But
Okay.
corporate guarantee is indeed an actionable claim. Navya, no.
So what that service tax judgment has come up of Edelweiss, it has said it is not even the activity and supply of service. And when you say this statement, it is an actionable claim. So GST supply definition says, and goods and services, that actionable claims are outside, other than lottery, betting, and gambling. So these are not lottery, betting, or gambling. So if we say it is an actionable claim, then bluntly we are agreeing to the fact that everything what we are discussing today is ultra vires.
Yeah.
And
So, as far as Edelweiss is concerned, I have briefly read the judgment. That judgment do conclude that it is a service, but being there is no charge, they said because there is no consideration, hence it will not be a chargeable to service tax in absence of a charge. So what GST law did, they went by that judgment. They said, okay, it is a service because this is what the Supreme Court is saying. So we will create a deemed charge of 1% on corporate guarantee. So, but yes, I think there can always be a dispute. One can always go to a court that corporate guarantee being an actionable claim. If it is an actionable claim, then technically it falls under Schedule 3. And if it is falling under Schedule 3, it should not be a transaction altogether. But yes, the expert is Navya Bhai. So now moving further, you are on mute, Navya ji, please.
नहीं, मैं तो इसमें यही कहना चाहूंगा, हम आगे बढ़े इससे पहले कि हम जिस दिन सोचते हैं कि हम थोड़ा सा एक्सपर्ट होने लगते हैं जीएसटी में, एक नया सर्कुलर आता है जो सारी एक्सपर्टीज को हिला देता है और ये बताता है कि स्टिल अ लॉट हैज टू बी लर्नड. And when I was going through the concept of corporate guarantees, these circular notifications, I'm very clear that many litigations are on the way. And not only going to this 1%, मैं आज आपसे एक बात पूछता हूँ कि एक रूल है हमारा, रूल 28. उसके अंदर सब रूल 1 भी है, सब रूल 2 भी है. देयर इज अ सेकंड प्रोवाइजो आल्सो which is very clear that says that whatever is the invoice value is deemed to be the open market value. In case of related parties, when there is an invoice being raised, that invoice value shall be deemed to be the open market value. When the concept was existing since the inception and the implementation of GST law, now when we come and we put something as a deeming fiction that no, at least 1% has to be charged. So this is going to attract more litigations, more difficulties, more aspects which need to be discussed and deliberated upon. I will sincerely also add to this that merely putting a valuation rule of 1%, wherein there can be genuine cases that not even 0.2% is being charged, it will cause you more harm and more difficulty. So this concept of corporate guarantee, this concept has to be dealt with very seriously and has to be actually being taken in a conservative view. I don't know still that when you will talk about income tax and you will say that there are भैया कॉर्पोरेट गारंटी का कॉन्सेप्ट इनकम टैक्स में कितने सालों से लिटिगेट हो रहा है या डेलिब्रेट हो रहा है, आई एम नॉट अवेयर, but I am very sure that there will be much more jurisprudence, much more related concepts, and आप मुझे पता है इंटरनेशनल वाले कॉन्सेप्ट्स भी लगा दोगे यहाँ पे. तो मेरे पास जीएसटी में डिफिकल्टी क्या आती है दैट the concepts of all the world has been compiled and given into India. मतलब बाहर कंट्रीज में जब इनडायरेक्ट टैक्स की बात होती है तो एचएसटी या जीएसटी जब ये सब लगता है तो एक टैक्स होता है. तो यहाँ वन टैक्स, मल्टीपल रेट, मल्टीपल स्टेट्स, मल्टीपल इश्यूज, और जहाँ हर 100 किलोमीटर में भाषा बदलती है वहाँ हर 100 किलोमीटर में काम करने का तरीका भी बदलता है. सो द कॉन्सेप्ट ऑफ कॉर्पोरेट गारंटी आफ्टर एवरी 100 किलोमीटर इज इंटरप्रेटेड इन अ डिफरेंट वे. I don't have that much concepts that wherein I will be able to conclude to this that whether we should charge 1% or we should not. But I will, at this present scenario, have to take a view that has to go to prudence. और जितने कॉन्सेप्ट मैं आपसे पूछ रहा हूँ कि इनकम टैक्स में, वो मुझे बोरो करके जीएसटी में लाने पड़ेंगे. एंड दैट विल क्रिएट अ गुड हार्मनी बिटवीन बोथ द लॉज. बट द लाइट ऑफ द डे हैज टू कम टू सी इस चीज पे कि होगा या नहीं होगा. So that is yet to come.
Okay, so broadly, I think we have discussed major issues in GST. Navya ji, if anything, or we can take
Yes.
questions from member if you want.
Yes.
I have one question for you, Navya bhai.
Achha.
You said one should raise the invoice, but why we should raise the invoice? Can we not do it without invoice? Because raising an invoice, see, let's talk about a scenario when the Indian parent company is giving corporate guarantee to the foreign company, to the subsidiary. And as per transferring law, if you are charging 0.5%, that is okay. You know, there are a lot of jurisprudence. But now under the GST, I need to charge 1%. So the financial condition of that foreign entity may not be good. Or even within the India, unless, you know, if we raise the invoice, the GST, the other guy may be able to claim the GST credit. That is one point. But is it mandatory to raise the invoice, or can we do it without invoice also?
You have asked a very beautiful question, I should say, and a practical question कि ये सब theoretical तो हमने पढ़ लिया, लेकिन actually इसको disclose या इसको actually implement कैसे करना है. These I have two aspects. One is the disclosure aspect, one is the invoicing aspect, and there exists one more concept is the consideration aspect. आज आपने मुझे बोला 1%, अगर ये 8 करोड़ रुपए होता है और 8 करोड़ रुपए में 18% चार्ज करता, लेटस से ये आता हमारा 1 करोड़ 80 लाख रुपए, एग्जाम्पल लेता हूँ. तो क्या मुझे 1 करोड़ 80 लाख रुपए का मतलब 8 करोड़ रुपीज एज अ कॉर्पोरेट गारंटी वैल्यू, फिर 18% टैक्स लगा के इनवॉइस रेस करूं, और इनवॉइस रेस करूं तो क्या मैं पेमेंट भी लूं इसकी, क्योंकि जीएसटी लॉ में आपको कंसिडरेशन भी 180 दिन में करनी होती है. सो देखिए, पहली बात तो ये समझिए कि आज अगर आपने 8 करोड़ रुपए का इनवॉइस रेस कर दिया, एग्जाम्पल सुनिए, तो 5 करोड़ से ऊपर में तो आपकी ऑलरेडी इनवॉइसिंग भी एप्लीकेबल हो जाएगी नेक्स्ट ईयर से. सो दिस कॉन्सेप्ट विल कॉज यू मच मोर अट्रैक्शन ऑफ कॉम्प्लेक्सिटीज, क्योंकि अभी जब आप ई इनवॉइस एप्लीकेबल हो जाएगा तो आपकी इनवॉइसिंग आगे जाके क्या होगा, 30 डेज पे कैप भी हो जाएंगी. तो you have asked a question, typically why then we should raise the invoice if it is causing more harm, because GST law is very clear that when your aggregate value has to be considered or anything, these are forming part of your turnover as per GST. However, there can be a worry and a concern wherein why this concept of 8 crore, let's say, invoice we are raising, and this will not form part of your turnover as per books of accounts for income tax. So as per GSTR 9C, this will be going in a column which is specifically there as per valuation difference. So as per books, there can be a different value, but as per GST, this is 8 crores of value. So when I raise this notional amount invoice, this has to go to GST portal. You have to raise the invoice as per GST. However, this will not form part of your turnover as per books of accounts. This will go into reconciliation in 9C. Now, will you be receiving the payment? No, you will not receive the payment. This will not form part of your consideration. Schedule 1 is clear that in cases of a related party transaction, despite you will not pay the amount as consideration, 180 days clause does not get triggered. Rule 37 is also an exception for this. You will still be getting the input tax in the recipient's book. तो यहाँ से आप GSTR 1 में तो चढ़ाएंगे इसको, इनवॉइस रेस करना पड़ेगा भैया, इनपुट आपको मिल जाएगा सामने वाले को, कंसिडरेशन भी नहीं पे करनी है, देयर इज अ कार्व आउट इन रूल 37। आपको इसमें ये नहीं है कि मैंने नीचे की जेब से पैसा निकाला और ऊपर की जेब में पैसा डाल दिया, तो देयर इज नॉट अबाउट रिलेटेड पर्सन की आपको पेमेंट्स भी करनी है, डिस्पाइट यू विल बी अलाउड द इनपुट टैक्स क्रेडिट। एंड आई थिंक व्हेन इन केस ऑफ the merging of consolidation of books of accounts, this will be a knocked off entry.
Okay. So Navya bhai, if our audience has got any question for Navya ji, if we are missing any point which you want to discuss, please raise your hand. We will unmute you so that you can ask question from our learned speaker, our learned friend, C. Navya Malhotra. And yes, in the meantime, I must say best of luck to Navya bhai for the upcoming elections of Northern India Regional Council. Yes, Rajesh bhai, Rajesh Kumar Khandelwal ji, please unmute.
यस सर, गुड इवनिंग सर।
नमस्कार भाई, पूछिए।
नमस्कार नमस्कार। एक्चुअली क्या,
आप तो खुद ही जीएसटी के बहुत बड़े एक्सपर्ट है राजेश भाई, मैं तो कहूँगा आप कुछ अपना व्यू प्रकट करना चाहें तो कर सकते हैं।
नहीं नहीं, आप सर बहुत बढ़िया बता रहे हैं। एक्चुअली आप दोनों को स्पेशल सुनने के लिए ही मैंने ज्वाइन किया था आज ये। जो अभी एक्चुअली क्या नव्या जी ने बताया ना, इसमें एक इशू और भी है। स्टार्ट वीडियो। ओके,
क्या इशू है सर?
एक बार
नहीं नहीं, इशू क्या है, इशू अभी एक्चुअली क्या, मैं अपने यहाँ पे लाइट ऑन करा। इशू ये है कि जो जो कॉर्पोरेट गारंटी है ना, वहां पे रिलेटेड पार्टी में तो कोई इशू है नहीं, क्योंकि रूल 37 भी कहता है कि अगर रिलेटेड पार्टी है और विदाउट कंसीडरेशन ट्रांजेक्शन है तो 180 डेज की रिक्वायरमेंट नहीं है। लेकिन जो कॉर्पोरेट गारंटी है वो तो अनरिलेटेड पार्टीज के बीच में भी हो सकती है।
बिल्कुल हो सकती है सर।
तो वहां पे कंसीडरेशन का कैसे करेंगे?
सर वहां पर क्या दिक्कत है ना, अनरिलेटेड पार्टी में तो आप एफओसी सप्लाई भी कर सकते थे, जीएसटी लॉ इज क्लियर that consideration can be zero also. However, input tax credit shall not be allowed.
इनपुट टैक्स क्रेडिट अलाउड कराना है ना, इसलिए मेरे दिमाग में क्वेश्चन आया।
सर क्यों हम टैक्स चार्ज, देखिए मेरा मानना ये है उसमें कंडेलपाल साहब, हम उसमें अगर 100 रुपए भी चार्ज करेंगे ना तो 100 रुपए पे आईटीसी मिल जाएगा सामने वाले को, आईटीसी इज नॉट डिसअलाउड। आई एम सेइंग डिस्पाइट कॉर्पोरेट गारंटी, यहाँ पर तो उसने क्या किया ना सर, यहाँ पर आप समझिए उसने 0.25% को भी 1% पे ले गया।
बिल्कुल।
तो दैट इज कॉजिंग डेट्रीमेंटल इफेक्ट्स। Whereas in my humble view, in case मैंने let's say 0.25% चार्ज किया तो वो अनरिलेटेड में 0.25 पे कैप हो जाएगा सर। तो क्वेश्चन ऑफ वैल्यूएशन विल नॉट कम। सो व्हेन दिस रूल 28(2) came up, it was for valuation. It was not about questioning the transaction.
नहीं नहीं, ट्रांजेक्शन पे क्वेश्चन नहीं है, लेकिन उन्होंने ये बता दिया कि जब कॉर्पोरेट गारंटी होगी तो ये जो सब रूल 2 लेके आए हैं यही एप्लीकेबल होगा।
नहीं नहीं, वैल्यूएशन में भाई सब रूल 2 would be applicable when there is a transaction between related parties. If there is not a transaction between related party, then Abhay bhai, correct me if I'm wrong, then sub rule 2 would not be applicable.
Yes. So हम रूल 28 में जाते ही तब है जब रिलेटेड पार्टी है।
यस।
अदरवाइज तो मैं रूल 28 में जाना ही ना पड़ता।
राजेश भाई एक बार ना मैं स्लाइड शेयर करता हूँ, उसमें रूल हमने लिखा हुआ है, that might help us in interpreting this issue. Just give me a moment. देखिए, this is sub rule 2. It says, hope my screen is visible. It says, notwithstanding anything contained in sub-rule 1, the value of supply of service by a supplier to a recipient who is a related person. By
Support
way of,
कॉन्ट्रैक्ट, यस, एप्लीकेबली तभी होगा जब रिलेटेड पार्टी।
absolutely, absolutely. So
तो वहां
now,
पे तो फिर 1% का इशू ही नहीं आएगा।
absolutely,
वहां पे
absolutely.
वो जो वैल्यू है वही वैल्यू मान ली जाएगी।
एक्चुअली ये कंसेप्ट आया तो इसलिए था क्योंकि जो फॉरेन कंपनीज हैं वो अपनी मर्जी से कई बार कॉर्पोरेट गारंटी पे फीस लेती हैं, नहीं लेती हैं, और इशू हो रहा था बहुत ज्यादा इसको लेके।
उसमें भी देखिए वो वी हैव अ ट्रांसप्राइजिंग लॉ विच इज मच मोर डेवलप्ड in terms of valuation. So probably they could have linked it with the transferring provision. एक arbitrary, in my view, it is very arbitrary. It is a straight jacket. यार 1% लगा दो. This straight jacket generally does not work. So Nave Bhai was speaking about the safe harbor rule under the Income Tax Act. It is at the option of the taxpayer. It is not a mandatory. So if you do not want to opt for a safe harbor, you can always, you can always, the safe harbor option is not a default. You need to make an application. So if you do not want to opt, you do not opt. You say, okay, according to me, 0.5% is the correct value, and I will
Yes.
pay tax as per the 0.5%. By bringing this kind of a law, that 1% should be the value. I think they are making life for themselves comfortable. Life for the tax officer is comfortable. But the life for the businessman is becoming tough. When the business is dynamic, think of a situation that the credit rating of a subsidiary is very low. And on that credit rating, that subsidiary is getting a interest at the rate of 18%. But after a corporate guarantee, the interest rate, because of the healthy credit rating of the group or the parent company, the interest rate is coming down to 12%. In such case, there is a clear-cut benefit of 6%, which is going to a subsidiary. But what is the value the law is telling you? The law is saying that use 1%. What's the logic? In such a case, you should come out with a detailed regulation and say one can apply the yield based approach or an interest cost saving approach, and the 3% should be the value on a 50-50% basis. So, but on the other side, where it is more in the nature of quasi capital, wherein the company is not able to get a loan without a corporate guarantee, without a support from a parent company. In such cases, also you are putting a 1% fee, and the drafting is not very clear whether this 1% is needs to be seen for a 1 year or 1 month or for the entire term of the loan. I think the law has been brought in very hurry. It's not a well thought of provision. There is
इसमें
clearly, I think the department needs to spend more time on drafting it properly and come out clearly so that there is less litigation. Otherwise, the people who are practicing, all the friends, with due respect to them, they will get more work, but certainly trouble for the business.
इसके अंदर गौरव जी बस सिर्फ दो बातें ऐड करना चाहूंगा। टाइम है ना अभी?
हाँ, टाइम है भाई।
हाँ, दो है सर। एक्चुअली क्या है ना कि अगर आप इंटरनेशनल लेवल पे देखोगे तो ये जो कॉर्पोरेट गारंटी है इस पे जो सर्विस फीस है ना वो 1% to 3% है। और इंडिया ने क्या किया है, जो लोअर रेट है ना वो अप्लाई किया। एक तो ये चीज थी। दूसरा क्या है कि जो अभी पीछे जीएसटी ऑडिट्स हुई है ना जितनी भी, वहां पर उन्होंने क्या किया, अनाप शनाप तरीके से फीस चार्ज की। फीस कौन सी वाली चार्ज की? जो मैं कॉर्पोरेट गारंटी की फीस की बात कर रहा हूँ वो वाली फीस, ना कि कोई दूसरी फीस। अब क्या हुआ, ये जब
नहीं,
जो
राजेश
इशू
भाई,
था,
मैं ना आपको रोकना चाहूंगा। आई थिंक देर इज नो डॉक्यूमेंट विच सेज की कॉर्पोरेट गारंटी की फी 1 to 3% है। अंडर ट्रांसप्राइजिंग लॉ वी हैव वैल्यूएशन रूल। द jurisprudence, various tribunals, various high courts in India, as far as TP law is concerned, they have upheld a rate of 0.5% also. So 1% जो रेट है वो सेफ हार्बर में है, इनकम टैक्स एक्ट में। अगर आप देते हो तो 1% वहां एप्लीकेबल है। मेरे ख्याल से 1% वहां से उठा के डाल दिया है। उसको प्रॉपरली कॉपी करते तो शायद उसमें एनुअल और बहुत सारी चीजें और आ जाती। सो
नहीं सर, अगर
आई थिंक
आप यूरोपियन यूनियन का देखेंगे ना तो वहां पे आपको 1 to 3% के केस लॉस भी हैं और रेट्स भी हैं। और
अब
एक्चुअली जो
कंट्री टू कंट्री है ना,
यस,
मतलब हाँ, हम वो उसको स्ट्रेट जैकेट में वही कह रहा हूँ कि वी कैन नॉट हैव अ वैल्यूएशन रूल विच इज अ थंब रूल 1% ऑन अ स्ट्रेट जैकेट बेसिस। कल को कहते थी रॉयल्टी में तो 2% ही मानूंगा, 5% ही मानूंगा, है ना, तो उसमें और दिक्कत आ जाएगी। जहाँ देर आर अदर इशूज ऑल्सो, कि मान लो मैं होल्डिंग कंपनी हूँ, मेरा एक ब्रांड है, मैंने सब्सिडरी कंपनी को अपना ब्रांड दे दिया, सब्सिडरी कंपनी उस ब्रांड को प्रिंट करके गुड्स बेच रही है, व्हाट वुड बी द वैल्यूएशन टुमारो, दे मे कम अप से इट शुड बी 2% और 5%। सो और उसमें हम ये कंसिडर ही नहीं कर रहे कि एएमपी स्पेंड कितना हो रहा है। सो देर आर, आई थिंक वैल्यूएशन कैन नॉट बी स्ट्रेट जैकेट लाइक दिस इज माय सबमिशन, बाकी आप लोग
नहीं नहीं,
जीएसटी
बिल्कुल
के
ठीक।
एक्सपर्ट। So with your permission, shall I move on to income tax for very quickly, Navya bhai, or we
Sure,
do have
भैया,
some
sure,
point left?
sure, please.
Okay. So now, to all the participants, I think in great detail we have discussed what will going to happen in the GST. Hope lot many issues have been clear to you. Now, under the income tax, we have 28(4). So most of the cases which I have seen that corporate guarantee is generally given by within the group companies. If it is not happening within group companies, then in one form or another, the consideration flows. So it is not a benefit. Now, 28(4), interestingly, is applicable when there is a benefit or perquisite arising from a business. So it must be proved that there is a benefit which is arising because of the corporate guarantee. So in my humble view, wherein we can argue that it is a shareholder activity, and I've since beginning I'm saying that where it can be safely said that it could be a shareholder activity, that is where the loan is not possible without taking a corporate guarantee. One can argue that it is a shareholder activity. In such case, there is no benefit to the subsidiary. Rather, I am protecting my investment by giving the corporate guarantee. But yes, where clearly because of the corporate guarantee, the interest rates are coming down. There is one can follow the interest saving approach, maybe 50%, and that should be the value under 28(4). And accordingly, the TDS should also be deducted under section 194R under the Income Tax Act. As far as transferring provisions are concerned, uh, the law in many cases, the tribunals in the many cases have felt that there should be a fair charge, there should be an arm's length charge for the corporate guarantee, whether when Indian company is giving corporate guarantee to the foreign company, and either the interest saving approach or based on the judgments, 0.5 to 1% in tribunals, in courts, they have upheld 0.5 to 1% that you can charge. So this was broadly we were having for you both under income tax and GST, and I think around the discussion, we have though Navya Bhai was discussing the GST, but I have used the opportunity to pitch in and contribute from the income tax or transferring perspective. Now I invite, if you have any questions, feel free to raise your hand and we will be happy to unmute you and take your question. If you want to watch the recording, I'm sharing the YouTube channel. This recording is available on the YouTube channel, the link that I shared. I would be sharing the presentation in my WhatsApp community. So if you want to become part of that WhatsApp community, you can kindly text me. You can WhatsApp me your name, your city, and your organization. This is my WhatsApp number. So Navya bhai, thanks a ton to you for the wonderful deliberation. Are you there, Navya ji? I think Navya has left. So thanks a ton to all of you for being here. Do share your feedback. How was it today's discussion? Whether you are liking it or not, whether it benefited or you or not. For now, we would like to take an exit, and possibly in the next video would be more clean because of Navratra and Eid. We don't have the guy who cuts my hair. The barber is traveling to his village. He's not in Delhi. So I'm slightly untidy. So wishing all of you a very happy Navratra and Eid. We have Himanshu. Himanshu, please unmute yourself and ask the question. Yes, Himanshu, you have some question? Some problem. So thanks again to all of you. See you soon. Bye-bye.